Gene, we'll get to Iraq and Turkey, but I also wanted to not lose sight of Yemen. Of course, Yemen has been, the site of a vicious Saudi UAE campaign for several years now, backed aggressively first by the Obama administration to some extent, and then escalated under Trump. The valiant work of Bernie Sanders and Ro Khanna, and also UN negotiators, but basically, U.S. support has continued, and there's new reporting suggesting that Yemeni warring factions might agree to immediate truce, according to a UN envoy. This is a report that just came out. This is from RT, actually. And it goes on to talk about how the conflict has been going on since 2014. What are the state what's your sense of the possibility of that? We've been hearing signals of a possible truce for quite some time. Certainly, the Saudis obviously, and the U.S. and the U.K. and its partners care nothing of human rights, obviously, but it's been a serious reputational damage. They've managed to take the Houthis, which were not necessarily an Iranian proxy, which was the justification for war, kind of made them an Iranian proxy. And now, in addition to a place that was threatened by cholera outbreaks and food shortages, now we're in Corona.
Yeah, I think the coronavirus, in a certain respect, gives Saudi a kind of way to stop the war without losing face. Because let's face it, it has been a disaster for the Saudis. We're not going to have the case where the Houthis are going to be able to occupy Riyadh, but this war and resources that have been poured into this war have produced very little results. The Houthis still control the majority of the country. They've been able to launch an effective military resistance against the Saudis, and they've been able to elicit a lot of sympathy. The Houthis are no political saints when it comes down to internal repression, but when compared to the activities that the Saudis have begun in and the kind of David and Goliath conflict that has sort of taken place, they've been able to get some kind of international legitimacy and sympathy for their situation. So in the immediate term, I think, Corona provides a good excuse for the Saudis to say, well, we're stopping this war because of Corona. This is, ceasefire by social distancing. But more broadly, it reflects the way that Corona has impacted Saudi Arabia internally. I think at the time of Corona, a lot of things sort of fall to the back of our mind. And we need to remember oil prices are sinking. So that's one big stream of revenue for the Saudi government, which is now limited and much reduced. Another important thing to remember is millions of people travel to Saudi Arabia to undertake the Hajj, the Islamic pilgrimage. Again, that is going to hit the Saudi economy because people aren't going to come. And Saudi's on lockdown. Now, we've seen, again, when it comes to trusting the statistics in the Middle East of coronaviruses, you have both the mercurial nature of Middle Eastern governments and also the fact that the data doesn't necessarily exist because we don't have testing and things like that. But Saudi Arabia has been hit hard by these kind of things. The governor of Riyadh, for example, he's in hospital. At last I checked, he was in hospital. So the royal family has been impacted. So Saudi Arabia is being hit by an economic crisis, which is unprecedented in its modern history. The closest thing in Saudi's modern history would probably be the Great Depression, which is before Saudi Arabia became a really major player on the Middle East and global scene. So Saudi Arabia also has a lot of internal issues brought about by Corona. As in the United States, as in Europe, many of the festering social and political problems that have sort of been papered over have come to the fore because Corona has brought that to the fore. So my sense of the situation is Corona is an out for Saudi Arabia for this extremely unsuccessful war, which is draining resources away from the country. I think the great conclusion is that sort of Saudi MBS's Saudi superpower vision is in utter tatters, and the people who were lauding the Saudi regime really have been kind of humiliated because it's all ended in tears, and it's a complete disaster with Saudi's economy obviously there are places in the Middle East where the situation is a lot worse, but Saudi's sort of economy is in the pits.